Hello, fellow Americans. You are on the YouTube channel Common Constitutionalism, and I am Mitch. I talk about issues in our government, the erosion of our culture, the minimizing of our way of life, and the disregard for our Constitution. Keep your conservative voices active. Subscribe to this channel and listen as I talk about issues we are facing in our country and government. Visit my website, commonconstitutionalism.com. Enjoy reading my conservative blogs, and if you like them, maybe throw in a donation. While on commonconstitutionalism.com, go ahead and shop at the Sage Novelty Shop, where you will find shirts which feature our very own unique conservative political memes and captions. Display your conservative beliefs with pride. These items send a clear message without saying a word, or if you prefer, you can use them as a conversation starter. Come join my Facebook group, Common Constitutionalism, for discussions of topics, sharing of ideas, and interacting with others just like yourself who are proud to be Americans. We must fix Congress. Take America back. If you allow the government to create jobs, what you get is more government jobs. Government just keeps getting bigger. There are fewer and fewer taxpayers and more welfare recipients, government departments, and government programs draining the already bust tax system. I am not saying this as a blanket concept. I realize there are public and civil jobs that are required, that one cannot just swoop in and eliminate blindly. There are necessary public and civil positions in which need to be filled, such as military, first responders, teachers, DMV, judges, etc. Instead, I am referring to bureaucratic waste and pork belly expansion of government departments, spending, and entitlement programs. Here are some examples in real-life government bureaucracy. Do you know that the welfare programs account for 21% of the federal budget? And this number excludes programs that people contribute to, such as Social Security and Medicare. Since 2008, spending on welfare entitlement programs has increased 32%. Since 2008. The Congressional Research Service, known as CRS, is a nonpartisan think tank for public policy research, primarily to the United States Congress since 1914. They found that in 2011, there were 83 different federal welfare programs with duties overlapping each other, creating waste and inefficiency. Together, these 80-plus programs represented the largest item on the federal budget. That means more than Social Security, Medicare, or the defense. The CRS report released to the government in 2011 concluded the Department of State and the Department of Homeland Security have effectively waived the legal requirement that those seeking attendance to the United States to not be a welfare reliant. That last sentence is extremely important, as it states clearly the State Department and DHS knowingly and with intent are bypassing the law to purposely expand the program and increase enrollment among illegal immigrants coming into our country. Also, the State Budget Committee in 2012 wrote this to the then Secretary of Homeland Security, Janet Napolitano, and Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. Congress intended that immigrants who come to the United States should not become dependent on our expanding welfare system. The INA specifically states an alien who is likely at any time to become a public charge is inadmissible. We were thus shocked to discover that both the State Department and DHS excluded reliance on almost all government welfare programs when evaluating whether an alien is likely to become a public charge. Indeed, under your agency's interpretation, an able-bodied immigrant of working age who could receive the bulk of his or her income in the form of federal welfare and still not be deemed a public charge. Of course, nothing has changed. Government, with their elitist mentality, is government out of control. The Government Accountability Office, known as the GAO, in 2014 reported on duplication and fragmentation in federal programs. The report stated, it takes 10 different offices at the Department of Health and Human Services to run programs addressing AIDS in minority communities. Autism research is spread out over 11 different agencies. 8 agencies at the Defense Department are looking for prisoners of war and missing in action. And at Schriever Air Force Base in Colorado, it has 8 different satellite control centers to control 10 satellite programs. This is just a short list of government inefficiencies. Does that sound like government too big to manage? America, we must get the government under control. With a national debt of $23 trillion, this is just not sustainable. Do you know that over the last 15 years, Congress has added $1 trillion per year to the national debt? This means they spent $1 trillion more per year than what they had money to pay the bills with. And in the last 15 years, Washington, D.C. added more than 300% to the national debt. This great country is going broke. Also, I want to say what the government's role should be to create an environment which allows the private sector to compete on a global level, which I might add, the United States of America does very well when it is not handcuffed. Let capitalism and free enterprise work as it was meant to. Let the greatest country in the world continue to do what made it great in the first place. If you want even higher job growth and an even better economy that is sustainable, the following must be accomplished with assertion. Undo the vast environmental restrictions on business. Lower business taxes. Increase our import tax to a level that is equal to what competing countries tax us on our exports. Lower corporate regulations. Lower taxes across the board to all tax-paying Americans. Do away with earned income tax credits. And lastly, all federal and state governments must create and maintain a balanced budget. Accomplish the above list, and you will create a thriving economy and increase tax revenues. But more money in revenues does not mean they can spend more. They must cut spending. The point is to pay down the national debt. Also, aggressively begin reducing and downsizing the following departments. Start with welfare, then the Forest Service, and so on. Go to the BLM, EPA, the DEQ, just to name a few. Next, send our senators and representatives back home to their states. Get them out of Washington, D.C. This would take care of the lobbyists, as there would be no one left there for them to lobby. Washington, D.C. is a place for the president and his cabinet. I believe that Congress should come to Washington, D.C. once a year for 30 to 90 days, only to tend to real business. Not waste their time on these fiasco special counsels and investigations into Trump and all the other stuff. Take care of business. Their pay should be adjusted accordingly. Doing it this way would have a positive impact on reducing career politicians, and perhaps even invite term limits. They need to spend their time walking the streets in their home states, talking to the people, listening to the people's ideas and concerns, not making up their own wants and needs. After all, they are supposed to be representing the people, not themselves. The real problem is government now believes that they are better than the rest of America. It is no longer a government of the people, for the people, by the people. They all believe we need them instead of them needing us. Come on, America. We voted them in. Now it is time to vote them out and demand change. If they do not perform, then get rid of them. Do not vote them back in. We need to take back America. As I said earlier, there has been a big push in this direction for 30, now almost 40 years. It was gradual, and we all sat back and allowed it to happen. Now it is time to be responsible and demand an end to the destruction of America. And as always, you can read this full article and many others on my website, commonconstitutionalism.com. Let's see what we can accomplish here. My aim is to create a loyal following so I can continue bringing awareness to these kinds of issues. We will talk about issues in our government, the erosion of our culture, the minimizing of our way of life, and the disregard for our Constitution. I would appreciate you all exploring, donating, subscribing, joining, and shopping on my sites. You will see them displayed at the beginning and the end of the videos. Until next time, this is Common Constitutionalism, and I am Mitch. Thank you, America.